whatever Elon Musk did at Twitter. I mean, that's some crazy stuff, Stephanie.
Yeah.
I mean, I often say that a lot of people could run their companies better if they just read a pamphlet on management, like not even really a book or a course. I don't know what he's been reading, but it's the opposite, right? It's like, what can I do today to annoy my workforce? Particularly when your workforce is engineers and you're short of them, and unemployment is under 4% in America, and you're all trying to be, like when I go to work, we have these framed things that say we're number 16 on the top 100 best companies to work for, or whatever the case is. Like, companies brag about that stuff, about the nice things they try and do for their employees to recruit them. Twitter's not doing that right now. Elon Musk is trying a different experiment. Maybe this is how work will be on Mars.
What would a hardcore vision of the Stephanie Miller Show be? I don't really know. Don't really know. It's what Allie. I don't know what you're thinking, but we were saying I'm gonna stay. I don't know. I'll be there till the end. I'm not sure. I think last night people were thinking it might actually physically shut down if all the employees were locked out.
I mean, they locked a whole bunch of people out. It's not even the way you make policy changes, right? Usually the CEO makes a nice letter, or the HR person about, hey, we need to change these things, and we're going to be a transitionary period for 3 weeks or whatever. This is the craziest stuff I've seen in a very long time. Yeah. But it's not, Stephanie. It's not, actually. When you follow Elon Musk's history and how he runs things, it's often that kind of people, these visionaries, these people who think outside the box. Well, that's fantastic, except when you have to deal with people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to come back in the box a little bit.
As a business reporter, have you ever seen someone appear to run their business into the ground in, what is this, 3 weeks?
You see it. I've seen it with CEOs who are generally short-lived, right? They bring in somebody because there's a great example at Ford, right? Things were not working at Ford for a long time, and then they brought in Jack Nasser. And Nasser was this guy who breaks the china and does all sorts of things. And he was really going to change it all, so much so that executives started not driving Fords, but they started driving Land Rovers and Jaguars because they had acquired those companies. And it became less and less about Ford. The big oval came off the building, and it was just going to be this new global company. Didn't last. Didn't last because he broke so much China that Ford workers didn't know what Ford was. So what happens, you see these kinds of disruptive figures come in sometimes and leave. Or you see Steve Jobs kind of figures who are disruptive and stay, but they're so disruptive that the world accepts that, oh, you've created remarkable things. It sounds like you're a bit of a distasteful human, but you're making life easier for the rest of us. Twitter's not making life better or easier for the rest of us. No. It's not helping democracy. And apparently, Elon Musk is a really bad boss.
Right. Well, yeah. But so you're obviously, I'm reading your tweets in front of me, so you're on there as a journalist.
I'm still on it. Yeah.
As a journalist,
I'm trying to save it. I'm trying to improve the quality of Twitter one tweet at a time.
Right. No, I'm staying. Are you staying? I mean, what's your take on it?
Yeah. I mean, I get the problems with Twitter, and I've known those problems for years.
Yeah.
It is. I do believe, like Roger McNamee often says, that social media is starting to become incompatible with democracy, but for the moment, it is a method for me to communicate with people, and I'm using it.
Yeah, no, me too. I'll be there playing in the band with you when the Titanic goes down.
Right.
Okay. So you
a bit like what it feels like, yeah.
But you covered a bunch of stories, obviously, as it relates to the election. But you said election deniers overwhelmingly lost in battleground states. That may be the most the important story practically of the election cycle, don't you, going forward for 2024?
Yeah, so it's one of those statements that is can be put out by a PR department because it hides a lot of flaws. A lot of election deniers did actually win, and a lot of election deniers did win as governors, attorney generals, or secretaries of state, but they're not in
battlegrounds,
places where the races would be tight. There's one exception, and I'm not really sure I'd call Indiana a battleground state, but a secretary of state prevailed there, who is an election denier. But generally speaking, in the places where democracy was going to die, Michigan, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and places like that, wiped out across the board.
Yeah, you were.
I thought you Elon Musked me.
No. But by the way, you were the most beautiful guest we've ever had, frozen in Tableau by the internet.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like I was giving you an answer to a question, and you were looking, and I was thinking to myself, she's so taken by my answer. This is amazing.
She was stunned into silence.
Cable news. People are normally getting a coffee or peeing or something while they're watching, right? It's not a stare at Ali Velshi and watch what he does. I'm thinking this is amazing.
Yeah, you're like, that is creepy. She's staring at me like she's a dog and I'm a sausage. What's going on? So we were talking about the midterms, about the so I mean, Republicans, obviously we're talking about a red wave, 40 seats. You were saying right now we're at 218, 210. Things are still obviously in flux. But it's a very narrow margin. Right? I mean, I just think with Nancy Pelosi stepping down yesterday, I'm sorry, is the greatest of all time. Trying to see Kevin McCarthy handle a slim Martian like that is going to be hilarious, I think.
Yeah, remember the degree to which she just knew how to count votes, right? She knew there were some people, and generally what happens in a slim majority Congress is that the people at the various ends of things have a little bit more power, right? They get to ask for things in exchange for their votes. And Nancy Pelosi had a way of either managing that, either giving those folks what they needed or getting some votes from moderate Republicans, which she often did. This is going to be a bigger problem for Kevin McCarthy because he's got a very large contingent of people who don't want some basic things like passing budget and keeping the government open. They want to take very big positions on a lot of things. He's going to have a hard time managing that.
Well, and also, as you tweeted, House Republicans plan investigations and possible impeachments with new majority. We've been talking about that all morning, but it seems to me politically, as exhausting as these 2 years are going to be, Allie, this is going to be really good for Democrats politically because this is exactly what the American people just voted against.
That's right.
Nothing they ran on are things they're going to do. Nothing for inflation. Nothing.
To the extent that the only policy matter that Republicans offered in this election was something about inflation. They didn't offer any solutions. They just blamed Democrats for it. Well, you know what? Let's solve these things. If you've got solutions to that, if you've got solutions to all these things that are not culture wars, let's do it. But if you're going to hold up budgets, if you're going to shut down the government, if you're going to not increase the debt limit, and you're going to have impeachment hearings, Americans are going to get a preview of what could happen if you control the Senate and the presidency in 2024, which I think will be really interesting. And by the way, as long as Donald Trump continues to do what he's doing with that remarkable message that he delivered on Tuesday night announcing his candidacy, went on for 57 minutes, and even Fox didn't carry the whole thing because it just meandered and did what Donald Trump does.
Yeah.
If Americans are frustrated about stuff, which they are, partially about democracy itself and partially about the matters around them like inflation, if I were House Republicans, I would focus on issues they think can look like they're solving problems, but I'm not sure that's where they're going.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And, you tweeted Republican infighting escalates over poor 2022 election result as Trump reemerges. It is interesting how committed it seems like the media has been to Democrats and disarray storylines. And this party, we're just watching a party implode. We're watching someone announce a run for president while they're under investigation for sedition and espionage. I mean, I'm not sure in your career as a journalist you've ever seen a moment like this in our history, have you?
No, and this Georgia case is getting interesting, right? Fani Willis in Georgia is getting closer to something that Brookings Institution put out a report that was based on available reporting, public information, but a district attorney from a neighboring county was involved in it and said, there's evidence of 2 to 3 serious crimes here, and Fani Willis, the district attorney there, is not going to actually be affected by the idea that Donald Trump has declared his candidacy. Declared candidates can be charged and indicted. So I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, Donald Trump gets to politicize anything that happens to him, but Donald Trump would have done that anyway, right? He would have called it a witch hunt. So he may just not be able to candidate his way away from some of the things, the 5 or 6 cases that are following him right now. And again, he does not have the same support financially or politically from the Republican Party and big donors that he had before. So he's going in weakened.
I think, was it Sonny Hostman? Yeah, I guess was saying her DOJ sources say there's going to be indictments in 60 to 90 days, something like that. I mean, what are you thinking? What are you hearing? I mean, they're talking obviously about making referrals now. The J6 committee's, deciding.
I've given up on hoping that Donald Trump faces justice, just because I get disappointed all the time when he does that. But these cases are sticking, right? There are real things that are going on, and they are around him. And to the extent that his candidacy, I mean, his own daughter says she's not getting involved. Ivanka Trump says, I'm not getting involved in this campaign. To the extent that people are leaving him, I'm not sure that even that thing that feeds him, right? He gets fed by audiences and people and the idea that this is a hot story and he can enjoy that. He didn't seem like he was enjoying it all that much on Tuesday night. He's seeing this big money go away. He's seeing Republicans desert him. He's seeing that McCarthy wouldn't say whether he'd support him. McConnell said, I don't have a dog in this hunt. So I don't know. I think he realizes the protections are not there around him. And what declaring for the presidency was supposed to do is clear the field.
Yeah.
So Mike Pence won't say that he'd support him. Ron DeSantis isn't going anywhere right now. I don't know if that's good for America.
Mike Pompeo.
Ron DeSantis or Mike Pence. Yeah, right. So it didn't have the desired effect. So I don't know what happens in the next couple of months, but Donald Trump is not as strong as he was a week ago.
Yeah. Our friend Glenn Kirshner tweeted, Trump's announcement of another presidential run will have zero impact on the ongoing criminal investigations of Donald Trump.
Seems to be.
Yeah. I mean, it seems fairly obvious that's what he's trying to distract from. But
people were taken by the idea that you do not indict a sitting president. And there was a lot of debate around that, but that's an actual office of that's a Department of Justice memo. It's not a law, but it's a memo. But people were taken by that.
Yeah.
A not president is not subject to any. There's no memos about what you can and can't do to a non-president.
Yeah. You tweeted about us out here in L.A. U.S. Representative Karen Bass becomes the first woman elected as Los Angeles mayor. We did not fall for the rich businessman with no experience.
The sort of Democrat?
What's that?
The sort of Democrat?
Yeah.
People say it was Democrat versus Democrat. It's like, not really.
Not really. Yeah. Yeah, but oh my God, and obviously our big issue out here is homelessness. He spent $100 million of his own money on this stupid run, and you think what that could have done to help the homeless here, right?
Yeah. And people who run corporations, I think we've all sort of learned this lesson. It's not the same thing. It's good if you come with that sort of skill. Better than me, who's never run anything. But it's not actually the answer to a place as complex as Los Angeles or a major city in America. And I think Karen Bass brings the complexity necessary. She's been great in Congress. I think she'll do a great job. But L.A., like New York, it's a hard place to run.
Yeah. Yes, we are unwieldy. Did some? Someone was. There's a map of the United States, like how many states have less population than just L.A. County. I don't think people realize how huge it is. So, Allie, so going forward, we have obviously now this has happened, the House control. So, what do you think happens with the J6 committee? There has been some talk of them transferring it to the Senate to continue the investigation. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, look, they're most of the way through what they've got, right? They've had so many people testify. They continue to. I think they're most of the way to where they have to be. The issue becomes, how much does the J6 committee gather that the Department of Justice can use? Because this now falls into Merrick Garland's field, right? He can't take their testimony and use it, but he can take their roadmap and their leads and the people they've investigated and look at that testimony, which was all under oath. So he can sort of say, hey, if I call you to testify, this is what you said last time. Can you confirm that? I think the truth is that's where it needs to end up, right? It needs to end up at the Department of Justice and a determination made as to whether or not Donald Trump and the members of his clown car get charged with something that was actually serious. That would feel a little bit like justice, right? Whether or not Donald Trump runs for president and people get a chance to vote for him, there's plausible deniability at the moment in voting for Donald Trump because he's never been convicted of anything.
Yeah.
And the January 6th committee has lots and lots of evidence of things he did that were wrong and most likely illegal. I think that the issue now has to become not moving that to the Senate, but moving all the boxes necessary to the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice saying in the last days of this January 6th committee, here's what we don't have that you might be able to get us. But they're not parallel. They're parallel, but they don't come together, those investigations.
How hilarious.
And that's what I think has to happen.
How hilarious would it be if the control of the House flips back to Democrats because enough Republicans are indicted in the insurrection? Okay. And then Travis and I have another dream, and that is that we get the trifecta, Donald Trump indicted, in prison, and runs third party.
Big thinkers here. We're big thinkers.
Yeah, we're big picture people here. What do you think of possibilities?
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
You guys need to get out more.
I have big dreams, Allie.
But, we just we all are. Remember in the beginning, thought, "Oh, this will never happen." What a clown in 2016. I mean, but
you're
there's
totally
part of you
right.
going
The
like, "It won't
impossible
bother."
happens. The impossible happens every day.
If he gets indicted,
dream the impossible dream. I thought that was like a sort of a thing that was meant to make you be positive and think good thoughts about the things you can do. I didn't realize it was about the Trump administration.
It's about vengeance.
No, because we're thinking if he does get indicted, that won't slow him down a bit, right?
No, not at all.
He'll just fundraise off that.
Totally right.